Well, this is normally the part where I play a dumb little intro video, but this time I'm going to do something a little different. After playing the Godzilla game for the first video, there was something that I wanted to bring up, but I figured it'd be better to do it as a separate thing rather than bringing it up while I'm playing. So, back around 2013 or so, I remember seeing something that I found pretty interesting and actually wanted to help contribute to. And that little something was called Kaiju Combat. Okay, before I begin, a little disclaimer. I don't intend for this to be an entirely accurate depiction of events. It's just something that I wanted to do a bit of digging around in because I was curious about what really happened and decided to do a bit of a fun video on it. Also, it seems like a lot of the information was located in the Kaiju Combat forums. That's where a lot of discussion happens, and unfortunately the servers aren't up anymore, so my research is somewhat limited. Colossal Kaiju Combat, formerly Kaiju Combat, more on that later, was a Kickstarter project that was started back in November of 2012. The project had a goal of $100,000 and was started by people who have worked with the Godzilla franchise before, mostly ex-Pipework software employees. There's 3 big names in the Kickstarter description. First, Simon Strange, the owner of Sunstone Games, which is a company developing this game, and someone who has worked on the past Godzilla games. Second, Matt Frank, an artist who worked on Godzilla comics and the person responsible for all the cool kaiju art that you'll see. Third, Bob Eggleton, a fantasy science fiction artist who has provided concept work for films and art for magazines, books, etc. What about the game? Well, it's 2 games actually. First, Kaiju Land Battles, a free online fighting game, which would be released on Facebook. It would include a roster size of 4 kaijus and a single stage. Not bad for a free game. Second, the retail game named Fall of Nemesis, Clash of the Kaijujin, which would feature a single-player story mode and a bigger roster with more stages. This project had some uniqueness to it though. For example, they wanted their games to be modular. You see, they wanted to release multiple games after the initial 2 were released, and wanted it so that you could use one product with another. For example, increasing your roster with 2 different Colossal Kaiju Combat games. The main selling point, however, was the roster. The roster was going to be original kaijus created by Kickstarter backers and would be voted onto games by the community. Originally, this was an exclusive reward for backers who pledged $500 or more, but eventually became open, so that anyone can submit and potentially get their kaiju made and put into a game. So how is this going to work? According to the Kaiju Combat Wiki, the standard procedure would be 4 one-hour Skype meetings. The initial meeting would be with Simon, talking about the goals of your monster. Not sure what this means, but I assume it's the overall idea of your monster. Second meeting would include both Simon and Matt, where the visual design on the monster is discussed. Third meeting would include Simon and Matt again, where sketches are presented and the monster's name is finalized. And finally, the last meeting would be with Simon, to discuss the backstory of the character and pick names for attributes related to your kaiju. I can't find the information confirming this, but I assume the $500 tier backers already have the right to get their monster designed. On the other hand, those that got their submissions in for free would only get design meetings if their kaiju was chosen by the voting process. Now, you might be thinking, collaborating your original idea with a company, surely they're going to fuck me over and keep the rights to it, right? Wrong. Once the monsters were designed, Sunstone Games offered a contract where they gained the exclusive rights to use your monster in video games. However, you retain all other exclusive rights, meaning you can make whatever you wanted with your monster and make money off of it, as long as it wasn't in a video game. Colossal Kaiju Combat achieved its goal, and raised $112,513 with 1,247 backers. And with that, development and monster design began. Obviously, the idea of designing your own monsters and having the community vote for the game roster was huge. Sunstone Games created the Kaiju Combat Forums, which unfortunately isn't up anymore. The majority of discussion and voting were done on these forums. We're still able to see Matt Frank's awesome designs on DeviantArt, however. So, how did the roster end up? For Kaiju Land battles, we have Komododon, Robo-Komododon, Gecko-Shark, and Magnarok. Fallen Nemesis would have Nemesis, Ikamaken, Tornak, Macrosaurus, Katyusha, Tursacra, Duncan, Mora Titan, Dragon Lotus, Heart Eater, and Lycanoid. Development for the game started and seemed to go well. One thing to mention as well is that the Spigot game engine, the one used for the Godzilla games, was licensed and ready to be used for Colossal Kaiju Combat, so it seemed that a good framework was there already. Things seemed hunky-dory. The Kickstarter originally stated a release on the fall of 2013, but as time went on, it seemed that development started to slow and it wasn't going to meet its initial release window. Now, this is a normal occurrence in the world of game development, but this might have caused some backers to worry. You see, crowdfunded video game projects didn't have the best of a reputation, as there were examples of games that either underdelivered or were scams. Again, because of the forums being down, I can't get a detailed timeline, but a couple of things sparked criticism and controversy. One thing was that Simon started making a Colossal Kaiju Combat card game, which included some of the fan-made kaiju, and which you can apparently still buy. Backers saw this as their money being used for a project they didn't fund, and the majority of people did not like the cards. They saw the fan-made kaijus being made into cards as a sign that there weren't going to be any future Colossal Kaiju Combat games after the initial two. Another source of controversy was one of the characters on the roster, but more on that in a bit. Videos of early alpha gameplay for Fall of Nemesis as well as a trailer for the Kaiju Land Battles alpha were eventually released, and people were not impressed. It's also important to note that Kaiju Land Battles was not a free Facebook game anymore, but instead, a $5 game on Steam. It was greenlit and available as an early access game. Of course, people again saw this as a failure. Releasing a game that was supposed to be free and charging $5 didn't sit well with the backers, and they saw it as further proof that the dev team were out of money. The dev team had other speed bumps along the way. There was a lawsuit from Wizard of the Coast. They claimed trademark infringement because apparently Kaiju Battle is too close to Kaijudo, one of their card games. Sunstone Games thought nothing of it. You see, Kaiju is a Japanese word that means strange beast, and since it's a common word, they'd figure there was no case, and that it would be settled between the lawyers. However, they were wrong, and the lawsuit caused Kickstarter to take down their page. Eventually, Kaiju Combat was renamed Colossal Kaiju Combat, and was trademarked to avoid any further legal issues. Tragedy also struck the company, as Ron Claiborne, the environmental artist for this project, sadly passed away from cancer. Ron Claiborne was the environmental artist for the 3 Godzilla games, so he had specialized knowledge of what was to be done. With his passing, they would have trouble finding a replacement. This caused delays in development, because the environmental parts of the game, such as building destruction and environment interaction, were the next to be worked on. In May of 2016, development was suspended. The community and backers had different opinions on why. Some called the team a bunch of scam artists. Others said that the project was just a mismanaged mess. But there was also a third opinion, which is what I heard when I last kept up with news of the project. There's a lot of posts around the internet that ask, what happened to Colossal Kaiju Combat? And usually, the answer is something like, because of furries. You see, another great source of controversy and source of blame regarding the project's development being suspended was regarding a character on the roster. That character was Duncan, which was created by a furry. Going back to my personal experience, I saw this project when the funding phase already ended, and would actually have wanted to make a contribution if I saw it earlier. I enjoyed the Godzilla games, and a new kaiju fighting game sounded great. I kept up with the game updates for a little while, but eventually stopped as the updates seemed to slow down. The last I heard about it, there was a huge issue with Duncan and his creator, who also went by Duncan, since it was his persona. But how did a furry cause so much trouble, you ask? Well, for starters, people seem split on the design. A lot of people didn't like it because it was just plain. He was a giant green kangaroo. And then once people found out it was created by a furry, they liked it even less. But looking back at the roster, he seemed popular enough to be voted in, right? So what's the issue? There's many stories about Duncan and what happened, but I'll mention what I often see repeated. Apparently, Duncan was a backer who contributed a large amount of money, and he was very peculiar on how his creation would be used. Some even phrased it as holding the company hostage, threatening to pull out his money should they not adhere to his vision of Duncan. He supposedly even caused two fan-favorite characters to be pulled from the game, Shadow of Red, also known as just Red, and Solomon, two monsters based on a Godzilla creepypasta. I've seen different versions of this story. One is that Red was supposed to have some sort of ability where it would corrupt the opponent, or create an evil version, or something along those lines, and Duncan didn't want his creation to be seen as evil or be able to be corrupted. Another reason was just that he didn't want Duncan anywhere near something as evil as Red, and be shown as fearful, or again, some other reason. I can't find a concrete answer, but basically, Red was a no-go because of Duncan, and since Solomon was supposed to be Red's rival, it didn't make sense to have one without the other, and thus they were both removed from the game. This is one example, but the overall consensus seems to be that Duncan was very difficult to work with and caused development issues. For the sake of fairness, let's get Duncan's side. Duncan released a post on the furry forum, and in it, he mentions that he backed the original Kickstarter for Kaiju Combat, which he states asked for $1 million without anything to show. I looked this up and apparently there was a previous Kickstarter. However, it shows the goal as $300,000, so I think Duncan is just misremembering. There's also a Kickstarter for porting the Fall of Nemesis to the Ouya, but more on that later. Continuing on, Duncan contributed $500 to get his character in, but the original Kickstarter did not meet its goal. When the second Kickstarter was created, Simon contacted him and asked if he was still interested, which he was, and again contributed $500. Since the project met its goal this time, he got to the character creation meetings. Here, he realized that Matt Frank did not like Duncan, and, quote, the way the conversation went, it felt like it was Matt's way or the highway, end quote. Duncan messaged Simon detailing his concerns, and basically said that instead of the $500, he'll still back it up, but with a smaller contribution. Simon convinced Duncan to stay, as he thought the character would be a fun addition, and said he'll talk to Matt. And so Duncan was created, and eventually voted in, from some help from his furry friends it seems. After that, he never followed the updates closely, and it wasn't until later that he found out that a lot of people blamed him for the project's issues. It wasn't until years later that he made this post to give his side of the story. So, what happened here?
Hey, what happened?
Which side is correct? Well, isn't there someone we forgot to ask? After the development was suspended, Simon posted a message, which I can't see because again, the forums. But what I can see is a town hall meeting that Simon live streamed and uploaded to YouTube. In this town hall meeting, he goes over questions and addresses misconceptions. Now, this video is like 2 hours long, so I'll just mention the key points. First, let's talk common misconceptions. The Kickstarter promised multiple IPs. Now I can see how the backers would assume this. In the Kickstarter page under the heading, "When will Kaiju Combat be released?" it says, quote, "Our ideal schedule would have an initial release in the fall of 2013, and 2 or 3 releases a year for at least 2 years after that, depending on the size of each release. Obviously, our contributors will have a lot of influence here on the size and frequency of new releases." End quote. Simon probably cleared this up on the forums, but we have to remember, we don't know how many backers were also forum members. It's possible that a sizable number of backers weren't actively on the forum, or even members at all. He might have cleared this up on other venues, but I would have no way of knowing. Community designed monsters were all going to be in the games. This one just seems to be a case of people getting a bit too excited. The $500 pledge says that monsters would be eligible to be in the game. No promise made. I even checked the Wayback Machine to check if the description was changed, and it wasn't. The Kaiju Combat Wiki states that characters would have to go through a content selection process. Nothing was made in 4 years. This is most likely just a result of people becoming increasingly upset at the game being delayed, and at the same time seeing that a card game was being developed. When the offer for Kaiju Land Battles was released, people were disappointed. You could understand some of their frustrations, but to say that nothing was done is a bit unfair. Simon takes blame for not handling the misconceptions better. He thought that rather than constantly correcting individual comments, the misconceptions would go away if he made constant posts and updates with the correct information.
But that is so hard, and I had this idea, perhaps it was foolish, that if I can put out the correct information and make it very clear, have a good official source for correct information, that people would generally spread the correct information and the incorrect information would slowly die out.
But the misconceptions didn't go away, and some of them eventually were treated as fact, like the controversy with the trading cards. Speaking of the cards, the backers really did not like the Kaiju cards. But Simon really liked the Kaiju cards.
How much effort Simon put in the cards? Yeah, I mean, but I liked it. And honestly, I got so good at it, and it actually helped me with my board game work because I did all the printing stuff. I got a lot of it there.
And he also realized that the audience for these was in the minority.
Honestly, so it's confusing because there are maybe 150 or 200 people who really like the cards and buy all the cards and like the card game, and that's, there's really there's 150 of you that just, I know who you are. I send you packages all the time. You keep buying the cards. You like the cards, but there are hundreds of people who at one time or another have said mean things about the cards or how stupid the cards are. And I have a hard time figuring out, I don't really know what to do. If I made a card game, a digital card game, how many people would yell at me because they feel like I'm taking away development from Fall of Nemesis?
And he also defends them. He explains that just because he was working on the cards, that doesn't mean that he was removing resources away from the development of the games, as a majority of the work lied on, the developers. In fact, the cards made them money, which is put back into the game development.
It cost me about $70 per card, all right, to make the cards. Most of that is paying Frankie for the art, but then also for printing cards and stuff. It's about $70. Here's how the math of that has worked: is that we did sponsorships, and so we'd make $300 on sponsorships, and then all the people who won would each pay $20, $25, and that would pay for that would pay for all the development, and so then we would get these cards. So the cards just basically paid for themselves.
Speaking of money, the forums cost about $800 to $900 a year to keep the servers up. Someone asked whether the Kickstarter money was all used up or not. It was, but they still got money saved up from other resources.
Okay, let's see. Is there any money left from the Kickstarter? we have spent more money than we earned on the Kickstarter. However, there is still some money left in our coffers because we make money on things beyond just Kickstarter. There are also pre-orders. There was also all the card sales. There were, sandbox figure sales. There was money that I made at G-Fest. And in fact, there's money that I make from other Sunstone Games things. Because Sunstone Games is an entity outside of Kaiju Combat, and that I make some amount of money from selling the Sunstones game on mobile devices, for example. So Sunstone Games still has money, a few $1,000s, not a whole lot. We've already spent more than we got in the Kickstarter, but there is still some money available for development.
Another resource for Sunstone was a contract they signed with Pipeworks.
Pipeworks has a contract where they own 20% of the Kaiju Combat franchise, and so if Pipeworks allocates people to work on Kaiju Combat, that's no money out of my pocket. So there's one way that people could work on the game without us spending any money.
The Kickstarter to port Fall of Nemesis to the Ouya was also brought up. It didn't meet its goal, by the way. Simon explains that Ouya was offering to double the funds of successfully raised Kickstarters that ported games to the Ouya. So, Simon saw this as a way to potentially double some money. If the Kickstarter failed, nothing would happen, since no money was expended for it. It was a win-win situation for the development of the game, but to the backers, it looked like another sign of failure. Simon also mentioned that he did not receive any money since development started on Fall of Nemesis.
Very briefly, I would like to clarify that I have not received a single dime for any work. I have not paid myself a thing.
Any money he made, he put back into the Sunstone Games bank account to be used for the games they were developing. And speaking of games, people asked just how much of Fall of Nemesis was done. The answer we got was that half the character models were made, and none of the environments were made. In addition, some character-specific stuff also needed to be done. I assume it's the abilities for certain characters. For example, Macrosaurus was going to have his energy meter increased by eating objects from the environment, which cannot be worked on, since the environment itself still needs to be developed. At the time of the video, no new environmental artist had been found since the death of Ron. People also gave suggestions on how to save this game, so it could still be released. Everything from reducing roster size and environmental stuff.
I don't think that's really a good option. Our environments, the 4 environments that I have planned for Fall of Nemesis, that's bare bones. There's no reason to cut beyond that. That's bare bones. Cutting back on the roster, yeah, you could save a little money doing that way, but it just makes the game worse.
To getting offshore contractors as a cheaper alternative for developers.
But what we're doing here is I'm really relying on all of my people to be really self-reliant. I simply don't have time to check somebody's work. So if somebody gives me 100 hours of work, it'll probably take me 20 or 30 hours to put that in the game and check it all. And then I would come back and say, oh, there's some changes I need. It's probably weeks later, and they've forgotten and they're not ready to make changes. That's not how I want to work. I need people who are familiar with the systems already and can get things put in right away.
To even another Kickstarter.
Having another Kickstarter. This is very popular. People say, what about another Kickstarter? Honestly, money won't help. Now, obviously, okay, now that's a lie. If I had millions of dollars sitting around, yes, I could fix this all with money. But if I'm able to do it through friends and through Pipeworks, it's just so much more efficient. That's really how we have to do it.
Simon explains what's needed for the game to be completed, and that's about $40,000 to $50,000 worth of work, which he states will cost $200,000 to get that work. Not sure what he meant by that, but I assume it's overhead expenses.
Well, really, we're talking about $40,000 or $50,000 worth of work that I need here. It would probably cost $200,000 for me to get that $40,000 worth of work, if I had to do it with money.
Overall, the livestream served as an attempt to clear things up and address questions and concerns from the community. People were understanding for the most part.
Gamora says, I'm just baffled that there's still push towards keeping it going despite the fact it's been nothing but a train wreck. Is that a question? Not really. Thank you for not being super mean. Like I said, I don't like it when people are mean to me, but I expected some people to just jump in and be mean to me, and you let me go. So that was nice.
So what led to Fall of Nemesis not being completed? The backer/community had 3 different opinions. Sunstone Games are scam artists and took the money. Duncan's influence delayed development, eating up resources. Sunstone Games mismanaged this project. The only thing Duncan says about the project was that it was far from a successful Kickstarter, so I'm going to assume that he also thinks the project was mismanaged. His post mostly defends himself against the allegations that he was the reason for the project's failure. And finally, Simon, on behalf of Sunstone Games. Without being able to see the original statement announcing the suspension of development, I can only go by the town hall meeting. He, like Duncan, also defends himself and tries to clear up any misconceptions, while also letting us know what he needs to finish development. Let's do a process of elimination. I think it's pretty clear at this point that it wasn't a scam, so we can disregard that. As for the Duncan controversy, I'm siding with Duncan on this one. I wasn't able to find anything that said Red and Solomon were going to be in the game and then removed. The only posts where I saw this were the same posts that blamed Duncan and the furries for the failure of Fall of Nemesis. And I don't think Duncan had enough resources where he was able to strong-arm the developers into doing what he wanted. The backers that were very upset with Fall of Nemesis weren't even able to get back their refunds. Since Kickstarter doesn't guarantee a delivered product, it's merely a platform to invest in something. If the backers weren't able to get their money back, I doubt Duncan would be able to as well. Duncan might have been hard to work with in the design meetings, but that's something that we'll never know, and that's between Duncan, Matt, and Simon. And from an old development update video, Simon seemed to love Duncan. So, I'm crossing out that Duncan was at fault here, and what's left is that the project was mismanaged. Simon did a good job in explaining things and dispelling some misconceptions. For example, the community saying he spent backers' money to create a card game, even though the card game was separate and actually made more money for the project. But the reality is, $100,000 is a small amount to develop a game. To put things into perspective, Angry Birds costs about $140,000 to make, and that's a pretty simple phone game. Fall of Nemesis wasn't going to be built from scratch, as it had an existing game engine that would, at worst, need some modifications. But $100,000 is still a low amount, especially as it gets delayed. Remember, the original Kickstarter asked for $300,000, so it seemed like Simon and his team knew about what it would cost to create a game, and when they weren't able to raise the $300,000, tried a smaller campaign and reduced their scope. And just to clear up any confusion, this isn't a case of Sunstone Games wanting to create Fall of Nemesis with $300,000 and then asking for less money when the first campaign failed. They didn't know exactly what they were going to create until after the campaign was a success. The lawsuit with Wizards of the Coast caused Kickstarter to rename the first Kickstarter campaign, making it seem that way. To me, there's a couple of reasons why this game did not get made. It seems like it was a risky investment, and the company wasn't well prepared to handle risks, like the lawsuit, delays, and tragic death of their staff. This one hurts a bit to say, but it just seems like the interest wasn't there. There certainly wasn't enough to raise $300,000, even though the community that did exist was very passionate and vocal. From an outsider's perspective, Pipeworks might not have had interest either. They only provided workers when they were in between projects, and even that stopped when they got bought out by another company. They already owned 20%, so if it came out and made money, they did as well. Otherwise, it would just fail, and all they invested was workers that were in between projects. And maybe some money as well, but we don't know the full details of the contract. Finally, there seemed to be a disconnect between Simon's vision and the backers. The community was very important to Simon, and in the town hall explained how he would like to keep the community going. To Simon, Fall of Nemesis was just one part of the bigger picture of what he wanted to create. A brand centered around the passionate community of all things kaiju. But to the backers, the majority, well, at least the vocal majority, saw Fall of Nemesis as the main thing, or perhaps the only thing they were interested in. Simon really wants to finish Fall of Nemesis and do his best on releasing a great game, but he didn't like the idea that the community existed solely for this game. He wanted the community to continue on. Simon remains optimistic in the town hall meeting, but isn't afraid to say how things are. It's unfortunate that this game wasn't finished and released. I was looking forward to it, as was the passionate community in the kaiju combat forums. But who knows? Maybe somewhere down the line, this project will be continued where it left off. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that the first Godzilla suit weighed 200 pounds? And that the actors in them actually fainted once from heat exhaustion? After that, they kind of cut down the amount of like plastic or rubber or whatever it was made out of. But yeah, it was 200 pounds and it would get pretty hot inside of it. And also, little known fact, the actor is in the suit was actually two midgets, one on top of the other's shoulder. It's true story. Look it up. But guess who's been practicing some kaiju fighting? That's right, me. So let me show you. I actually bothered to learn the game and like see the inputs. One issue I noticed that I had last time was I couldn't do the same moves consistently because I was pressing like a direction and then like an attack button, and I kind of thought it was like Smash Brothers, right? You just push the direction and then press it, as long as you're holding that direction. But you actually have to press it at the same time. So once I found that out, I was able to do attacks consistently, which I think is the major flaw I had last time. Let's get started. And then I'm gonna bring back a gimmick from previous video. If I can get it to work. Uh-oh. I wanted to do like the GameCube overlay like last time, just so you could see me button mashing, but I guess it doesn't support this game for some reason. That's fine. But actually, let me go back. Let me show you. Look at that. I've been doing medium. I also don't know if I could see my record or not. I guess not. But I did unlock some gallery items. You look at all the models. There's like team photos later on. Ooh, I remember that. It's Godzilla. Look at that. Amazing. This one's actually pretty cool. I think that's... I don't know if that's the dev team on the bottom or it's like random concept art. But let's continue with the adventure. So I unlocked everybody except Orga. You can see that on the bottom right. To unlock Orga, you need to beat adventure mode with everybody at least once, and then beat it again in medium difficulty with Godzilla 2000, which is why I switched over to medium and then unlocked the characters that way just to get used to that difficulty. But Mecha-Godzilla is... I just unlocked them, so I need to beat it with him and then beat it with Godzilla, but we'll hopefully have better luck this time than last time. Skip that.
Mecha-Godzilla versus monsters. Fight!
Alright. Let's see how much I've regressed. Alright. Can I... Oh, there we go. Yeah. No, don't stop. I actually don't know. Okay. Yeah, he does have a... like a charging move. Yeah, notice B is kicking, A is hitting, and then X is usually like whatever, like usually something specific to your monster. Like if your monster has wings, like Rodan or something, then he'll attack with that. What does this do? Oh, okay. Oops. That's fine. I'm just trying to learn my moves. He's pretty... Well, I mean, I guess it comes as no surprise. He's pretty similar to Godzilla. Oh, shit. Okay, which one's a laser one? Oh, no, it's not that one. Let's see if I can do it. Ah, whatever. Okay, there we go. I like this one. There we go. Get out of here. I think in Godzilla Save the Earth, there's kind of like how in this one there's a Godzilla 90s and Godzilla 2000. There's two different Mecha-Godzillas. Yeah, launch that fucker. I don't know if the rockets hit well. Whoops. Oh, of course. Yeah, too slow. Where's he going? What the fuck? I tried to like ram into him and didn't ram. Too slow. Let me shoot him over there, pick up the health. What? How did I miss? I just walked around in circles slowly. Guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think Orga was more of a grappler, if I remember correctly. Which kind of makes sense, because he has, like, when you see him, he has, like, one giant arm. Or, I don't know if... He has one that's bigger than the other. It's not, like, just one arm. Get out of here. Ah. I can never seem to hit him with the missiles. I feel like when I play against Mecha-Godzilla, I can't, like, escape it. Alright, immediately use it. Yeah, off, like, I didn't record it, but, like, when I was unlocking the other monsters, I was playing as Rodan, and my first, oh, he's gonna get health. My first, attempt at trying to beat the adventure mode was abysmal. Cause, like, so Rodan is weaker, he's, like, quick, as you can see, he can, like, fly around and stuff, but he's, like, considerably weaker. And I was playing, like, I was playing, like, most of the other monsters, just have them close and, you know, hand-to-hand combat. And I kept losing and getting my shit wrecked. And I was getting angry. But then it kind of clicked on how to use him. He's a zoner, basically. You want to, oh shit. Which one's the... Come on. Oh my gosh, I can't catch a break. Yeah, Rodan was a zoner. So you kind of just fly around, because, like, you could do your beam in the air, and, like, he does it immediately, like, he doesn't need a charge. So you, like, you fly and you hit him with your beam, and you hit, when you do the beam in the air, like, one drawback of not having the charge is that it takes a good amount of your, like, energy, like 1/3. So you kind of, like, keep your distance, you fly, and you hit him, like, 3 times with the beam, and that, like, knocks him down or pushes him back, depending. And then you kind of just, like, dick around until you get your energy back. And he has, like, this move. Oh, I didn't hit him. He has, like, a charging move, like Mecha-Godzilla has. He has, like, a couple of them, so... Basically, I will, like, charge at him, and then... Oh, I don't have any. Ooh, that was lucky. He would... I would charge at him, and then that would knock him back, and then... Usually when I... charge at him, and then hit him a couple times, like, my energy is back, and then just fly around, and do the beam attacks again. Maybe I'll show it, depending how long this takes. Whoops. Ooh. Mothra with the assist. I don't know how I got it first. His reach kind of reminds me of, like, Rob's Final Smash from Smash Brothers. He's like, he does all his, like, beams and stuff. Osaka. I was reading that apparently there's a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong from the newest movies. I don't know how that would be. Cause like I enjoyed that movie, but whoops. For me, it feels like a one-time deal. Like I don't know how you could do that again. Cause it's more for the spectacle of it. Like you know, you have a franchise, a monster from one franchise with another. Where's the I don't know if you saw that like Atari sign. So sometimes when you break a building, those will pop up. Oh yeah, it's over there. I see it. Yeah, and if you collect them, that unlocks a gallery item. What I was saying, the Godzilla vs. Kong, it's just a spectacle of like, oh, what happens when this franchise, like one meets the other. Like, you know, like Freddy vs. Jason, which I didn't see, or Alien vs. Predator, which I have seen. I remember enjoying it as a kid. I saw parts of it. Oh, shit. I saw parts of it, I don't know, kind of recently. And it's pretty shit. Especially the second one. The second one is god awful. Like, I didn't go to the theaters for it. I saw it via other methods, but like I didn't even pay for it, and I was mad just because of like the waste of time that it was. All right, get the fuck out of here! Oh, them there. Yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong was, I enjoyed it, but I don't know how I feel about the sequel. We saw how that went with, Alien vs. Predator.
Destroy monsters. Fight.
What? How did that not? You know what? I think the reason Mecha-Godzilla always hits me is because in like that mothership stage, like the beginning is just, it's a circle. So it's like a lot easier to hit. Oh shit. Yeah, I didn't notice it, but when I played Destroya, like, that beam attack from his horn, that actually uses up your energy. What the fuck is going on? Over here. What? Why didn't I grab him? We were both pretty stupid over there. None of us got the rage. Ooh. And then also I was reading that like when you hit him against the barrier, like even though like it hurts him or it like knocks him back like that, it actually doesn't do any extra damage. Which I thought as a kid like that did damage, so I would always toss him towards it, but turns out it doesn't. Turns out I was dumb as a kid. What else is new? Okay, I think Mecha King Ghidorah is next.
Godzilla
Oh no,
monsters.
Godzilla. Of course. I have to fight Godzilla. What? Get out of here. Oh shit. How? I could for the life of me never dodge it. In the same way that like I can't hit people with the missiles as Mecha-Godzilla. Like as Megalon, I could never like burrow underground and I can never burrow underground and like actually catch somebody and grab them. Like I always come up like right next to them and then they end up just like punishing me for it. Oh, I missed. Okay, now I hit him. I'm gonna try to hit him towards the volcano, because you take like continuous damage. Or not. I guess I could just toss rocks at him. What the fuck? The camera got all weird. Godzilla's dead. I win. Okay, I don't remember if I fight Mecha-Godzilla or Orga. Oh, King Ghidorah. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. No. You know what? I feel Mecha Ghidorah is easier than Mecha Godzilla to fight against. How do I do the... Oh, no. That's a pretty good reach too, you see. Punch him. Yeah. Oh. Oh my god. I don't know why I try to do like the missiles there. Cause like, even though you don't have it, he'll do like the animation for it and like you just can't do anything for a while. I said he hasn't been unlocked. I'm wondering if it's the mothership. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you see second is Rodan. I finished it pretty quick because that's all I did, like the strategy I said before. Somehow with Mecha Ghidorah though, I did it quicker. Okay. Now we'll try Godzilla 2000, and then we can get Orga. Okay, let me see if I remember Godzilla's moves. He has like a... I don't know why I tried to block that. He has like a charging move too. Oops. Yeah, that one. The one that makes a jumping sound. Haha. Oh yeah, another thing is like I don't know if you see that UFO. Like that's what's dropping power-ups. Yeah, you see, like he dropped one right there. So if you kind of like stick close to him, you have a better chance of picking it up. Oh, look, Tarzan. Whoops. Got me. Oh my gosh. Whoops. No. You know, I noticed the rage doesn't do too much damage. Okay, spin him around, punch him. I didn't think I'd get him in time. Oh, damn. What a shame. Alright, I wanna... Oh, no, no, no. No, I pushed him towards it. I thought that fireball would, like, finish him off. More health? Are you kidding me? No, I don't know what he did. Try to take the long way home. Okay. There you go. Die. Die. Gallery... Oh yeah. Gallery item from the Atari symbol. Los Angeles is under attack. Okay. Yeah, I found out... Oh, look, another one. I found out, with the computer, at least on normal, if you jump, like, at the last second... Oh, fuck. If you jump, like, at the last second, he'll... Like, you'll trick them. Like, it's not even that, like, difficult. It's pretty forgiving, as you can see. Shit. Yeah, see? Oh, getting smarter. Oh, shit. Ooh. What an idiot. Like, the building, like, pushed them into the blue wall, or the green wall. Mega Man is pretty stupid. Look at him. Stupid bug. He would just let me hit him and, like, jump on him when he was on the floor. Anguirus. Shut up. Oh, shit. Oh, I have a toe. Oh, he jumped over it. Damn. This guy's a lot smarter than Megalon. Oh shit, I had his spikes. I forget I have to be careful about that. Oh, yeah. Ooh, okay, things aren't looking good this round. I'm playing like Megalon on this round. Okay. Take that. Oof. Oh no, which one's the... Oh, that, yeah. It's back and X that I was trying to do. Oh, there's a health. Okay. Oh, grab it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, he turned around like the last second. No, don't get it, don't get it. Alright, I'm scared. I'm not sure how much Mothra will help me. Oh my gosh. It's okay. You win some, you lose some.
Monsters, fight!
No, he's too quick. Oh my gosh. Take that. Ooh, I grabbed him. Middle roll. Didn't think I could do that. Get out of here. This is uppercutting him. Oh shit, I forgot to block. You can't escape it. Oh. Okay. Let's just stop doing that. Oh my gosh. I tried to jump away, but I just ended up jumping. Jumping straight up. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, thank God. I saw that freezing tank, I thought it was gonna hit me. Okay, should be then. Oops. He looks like he's screwed. Yeah, I think if that freezing tank got me, probably would have lost another round there. Giga. Okay, oh no. I try to toss them to those like circle things because if you step over them, you take damage. Yeah. I'm just getting lucky with these. Let me step on them so it doesn't freeze me. Haha. Thought you were cool, huh? Teleporting. Oh shit. Okay. Try to toss into the circle things. What? How did that get me? Alright, let me get the Mothra thing. Uh-huh. Die. Easy. Not even close. Monster Island.
Orga. Monster.
Oh, there we go. Okay. This is the final one. I thought I'd see, like, the alien guy. Oh, shit. He grabbed me through the fucking... like a stone pillar. I don't know if he's a final boss or... oh my gosh. Or if Mecha-Godzilla is. Guess he like grabs you with that one arm. He elbow drops you. Yeah, I don't know why a lot of these guys don't. Like they get hit by the upper cut pretty easily. Oh, he jumped over that. Whoops. Nope. It's like a weird turtle thing. Oh, I guess his arms are the same size. I kind of remembered him with one big arm for some reason. Oh my gosh. Over there. No, don't get it. Don't get the rage. Haha. Oh, I guess I can't. Ooh, my gosh. Almost killed me. I thought his rage was over. I didn't know he had like an earthquake thing at the end. Now I know. Oh my gosh. Alright, let me toss some over there. Oof. Yeah, I just want to keep him there so he just takes fire damage continuously. Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Idiot. What an idiot. Okay, is that it or do I need Mecha-Godzilla? Oh, there's more? Oh, I guess he just pops up randomly. Haha. Haha. Oh. is he getting? Oh no, it's a rage. No! I got stuck between the buildings. Shit. I think that's a homie. Yeah. I don't think I could dodge that. Or at least I haven't been able to. Oh no, you're not gonna get that. No, buddy. Oh, come on. Stop popping around. What is he doing? Pow. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, they kind of like... Sounds like they just... like, put their priority on collecting the power-up. Even when, like, puts them at a disadvantage. Haha. Easy. He was about to stomp him. Okay. San Francisco. Okay. I think after him is Mecha-Godzilla. Usually they're the last two. Ooh. Yeah, so when I played Ghidorah and Mecha-Ghidorah, one thing I noticed is that they hit hard, but they're really slow. Like even their moves come out slow sometimes. Oh my gosh. No. I don't know why I have such a hard time grabbing things. Are you kidding me? 2 healths in a row. Oh, come on. Yeah, see, like, I was able to react to that. Oh my gosh. He wasted his tasers. Oh my gosh. Just can't catch a break this match. Nah, fuck you. Haha, I'm faster than you. Oh, sure. Oh, come on. Interrupted my game. Okay, freeze him. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna toss him, pick up that building, and then... Oh my gosh, no. I don't know what he was trying to do. He had it. Ooh. Stomp us in. Oh. Okay, now it's Mecha-Godzilla. Mothership. Okay, I think I died once, right? Oh no, twice. Okay, I guess if I just hop, I can dodge the rockets. Oh my gosh. No. Oh my gosh. Okay, I should probably try and break those towers. Or he did it for me. It's awesome there. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to grab a building like 4 times in a row. Oh, of course. How? Alright. Give me that rage. Rage against the machine. Come on. Oh my gosh, of course. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I think this is over either way. Or is there a comeback? Come on. What? That building is in the way. How did it get me? No. Okay. I might have a chance. Oh, never mind. You know what? I can't even be mad, because the freezing tank helped me like 3 different times, so.
Monsters.
Okay, I can't lose. What? Oh my gosh. Hit him! God damn it. Okay, I think I lost. Alright, spin him, punch him. Oh my gosh, what do I do there? I have no idea what to do. Oh, was that a health? No, I think it was one of the UFOs. Alright. Yeah. I don't know if I could win this though. Especially with all these UFO beams hitting me. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dead. Dead in the water.
Thousands of tears later.
This time I got through without losing a life, so hopefully I don't have to use them all. Grab him. Oh, that's quick. That was it. Alright, so far so good. see you. Oh, he's stumping my foot. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to get out of here. These stupid UFOs are doing a good amount of damage. Okay. Yes. I was hoping to hit some UFOs. Okay, spin them. Look at the damage I'm taking just from the UFOs. Alright, first try. Didn't even lose a life. Take that. New monster has been discovered. Oh gee, I wonder which one. Okay. I also unlocked some new gallery items. I think this is where I left off. Can I zoom in? Oh yeah. That was a pretty slow zoom. Okay. You know, I kind of miss, I don't think modern games have much of these, like, little behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I remember, Mortal Kombat... I don't remember if it was Deadly Alliance or Deception had, like... I had a bunch of art and even, like, random weird videos. Like, there's one of a scorpion... like a scorpion cooking show.
This week on Cooking with Scorpion, learn about chopping, tenderizing, chopping, cake decorating, and chopping. Select arena.
Okay, let's do Los Angeles, cause that's a city I'd want to destroy. Okay. Oh shit. I wanna grab him. Okay. Yeah, look at that. Oh, it stuns on that, like, green thing? Because I noticed it took a lot of my energy. I wondered why. Oh, shit. Okay. That comes out pretty quick. Wrong answer, buddy. Oh, that saved me so. Like, froze him right as he was going to do like a fully charged thing. Let's just toss him regularly. Oh no, I missed. Oh shit. It comes out so quick. Alright, what this? Okay. Oh my god. It does have a charging move. He has one with his back too. What about... Okay. No. Oh my god. I tried to jump forward, but I wasn't able to. I don't know how that didn't hit me. Alright, let's toss him. Ooh, juggling. No, I jumped too early. I didn't try this kicks. What the hell? Or like kicks him in the ankles. Or in Megalon's case, the cankles. Oh, what an idiot. Oh no no! Yeah. He just goes crazy. I love that. Oh wow, I got lucky. I love that move. I noticed a lot, like, on the first... Actually, let me do a different opponent. Quit. Like, on the first move, it'll show, like, a blue, like, flash thing, and then after that, it'll do, like a white one. The white one means it doesn't do, like, a lot of damage, so... Maybe they knew, it came out too quick. I don't know. I can't do, like a computer versus computer, can I? But yeah, that's, I don't think I showed you all the characters, or like me playing as them, but I think you saw a good chunk of them. You saw Orga, Mecha-Godzilla, the two Godzillas, and Gearus. I think Megalon, Gigan, and then Ghidorah's and Destroya. You guys haven't seen, but you guys could get this game via... Don't tell anybody, but you could get it via
Emulator.
and try it out yourself. But pretty fun. Pretty fun game. Godzilla Save the Earth has a bigger roster. I don't think I owned it though, so I don't remember much about the gameplay, but I might play that sometime in the future. And maybe some other fighting games, I don't know. I have to make sure to actually practice and know a bit before recording, so we don't have anything like the last video.